Hello and welcome to a complete NetSuite ERP walkthrough hosted by Gru's Solutions. My name is Dylan Golo and I'm a business solutions specialist at Gru's. I'll be walking you through today a couple of topics, starting with a NetSuite platform overview, then moving on to some dashboards and a live instance. After that, we'll go through your NetSuite implementation and of course the advantage of working with Gru's. At the end, we'll have a Q&A period, so please wait until the end and we'll field questions and answers at that point. Let's begin with a NetSuite platform overview, and of course, NetSuite is the last ERP you'll ever need. And the reason for that is because NetSuite has the right tools for every user type, and that begins with the everyday user. As they can customize their own experience, they can build their own dashboards, searches, and reports. And that's across platform as we see here. We do have the mobile app, and then otherwise we can use it in any browser, whether on a tablet or on our computer. Now, the business analyst in NetSuite can actually customize and configure the instance themselves, meaning we don't need to know how to code to change the automated business rules, to integrate apps, or to configure workflows, forms, and fields. Of course, the developer still does have a role in NetSuite. We can customize the instance with script, and NetSuite provides for a robust development environment where we can manage the lifecycle of those customizations. As an administrator, I have oversight into how my roles are configured, how those customizations are set up in my instance, and of course, the security of the instance. So I can govern all of that myself, which brings me to the CIO, who's also concerned with the governance, but even more so with that security and compliance. And of course, as a CIO, I have peace of mind knowing that NetSuite meets and exceeds a myriad of audit and compliance standards as we see in this list here. And of course, that 99.99% uptime also adds to that peace of mind. The partners in the partner network can actually extend the NetSuite instance. So we're not just left with the core suite of modules. There are other bundles we can bring into our instance to enhance the functionality we have. And this means that we have a Suite App marketplace for customers, as well as publishers or those Suite Cloud developers in the network. Now, I mentioned Suite Cloud, and NetSuite it's built on top of a infrastructure that is flexible, powerful, and complete called the Suite Cloud Platform. And it begins with a foundation that is scalable, secure, compliant, and transparent, as you'll have 24/7 system status reports online. You have a 99.5% uptime guarantee, and you can test anything prior to going into production with your Sandbox account. Now, with any of these new feature updates and upgrades, there's no version lock, so you can take advantage of these features whenever you choose, right after they're rolled out to your instance. Now, on top of that foundation, we have a set of development and deployment tools. And on the left, it begins with Suite Connect, which allows us to use connectors to bridge data from one application to another. Then we have Suite Script, which allows us to program different business logic inside of NetSuite, as well as change the UI. Then we have Suite Talk, and this is where we can build our own custom integration between applications. Suite Analytics is our built-in business intelligence. It's how we can query the suite, build searches or reports. Suite Builder is the ability to point and click to customize the instance instead of having to code. This is that business analyst or that administrator user I mentioned before. Now, that same user can also, instead of using programmable logic with Suite Script, use Suite Flow, which is a visual workflow, instead of having to use code. Now, of course, we mentioned the Suite App Marketplace, and this is possible because of the ability to bundle applications, which is what Suite Bundler as a set of the tools here can also do. Now, what does that mean for the end user? It means that we can have a global workforce, we have international language management, we can work mobily, so it doesn't matter if we're on a tablet, on an iOS or an Android device, as well as our desktop, because NetSuite's 100% browser independent. Now, of course, once we're inside NetSuite, we can Google the suite. We have a global search, as we'll see in the demo coming up. And we can create complex forms and reports. And again, that's not with code, that's just with pointing and clicking. Of course, we can manage unstructured data in NetSuite based on any of the fields or databases we want to hold, and we can collaborate within the suite. Now, it's important to make sense of the modules with NetSuite. Now, this is not an exhaustive list. This is just some highlights grouped by vertical. And when you engage with Guru Solutions, of course, what we're going to do is make sure that we understand your business. We know which bucket, so to speak, that we want to look into to pick the modules that would be best for your company. And there are modules here for every type of role, and it begins with the financials, where we have modules for the CEO or the executive suite, any of the controller or accounting users, as well as the IT admin when we discuss something like OneWorld, which allows for multi-subsidiary and multi-currency management. Now, of course, in the retail and distribution business, we would have modules specific to operations, warehouse management, fulfillment, purchasing, and inventory. And if we were a manufacturer, we would then also have modules for the engineering department or operations as well. In the professional services vertical, we do have a rich feature set for project managers, consultants, and other project resources, as well as the accounting department. And revenue management does bridge over into our software vertical, where NetSuite does have specific modules that are a very high impact for these companies, whether it's suite billing for subscription-based billing, as well as contract renewals, just to help your sales operations and billing department facilitate their day-to-day, as well as software management if you did want to distribute software or manage which software had been distributed as well. So no matter where you look across these verticals, this is just a high-level overview of some of the modules that companies in a general business or a financial sense could be using NetSuite, or in the retail and distribution sense, or in manufacturing, services, or software. Now I'm going to jump into the dashboard walkthrough, and I'm going to start with a CFO role, then look at a controller role. As we see, we're looking at a bit of a finance view at the beginning, and then I'll get a little bit into some inventory and purchasing management. Now, today we're going to be looking at a NetSuite SuiteSuccess instance for the warehouse and distribution vertical. In the top right, you can see that I'm logged in as a CFO, but we'll also be reviewing roles for warehouse operations and the controller role. Now remember that NetSuite roles are configurable, and we can control which permissions are applied to which roles and which dashboards are also configured for certain roles. In SuiteSuccess, we actually have 13 pre-configured roles for the warehouse and distribution vertical, but in this case, we'll be reviewing just these 3 roles for today. At the top of our page, we can see the global search bar. This is where we can query the suite. In this case, when I search Smith, I can actually see different record types that I get matches for, whether it's a customer, employee, contact, or opportunity. And if I wanted to filter down on that, I can actually use the shorthand for the record type, or CU for customer, and it filters down to only customer results. So it's easy to find what I need to in multiple ways in NetSuite. Now, beside this, I see my quick add or quick access menu to easily create new records, whether it's a customer, an invoice, etc. This is personalizable by the end user, so I don't need an administrator to change this. I can change it myself. The Help Center is the next link here. This is a self-service portal to find release notes, user guides, or just articles related to something I'm searching for. For instance, if I wanted to see the accounting preferences and how to configure those, I could just search accounting, find the article related to accounting preferences, and then NetSuite will lead me through the other related articles to find what I'm looking for. So it's really self-service for the end user. The next bar here is the navigation bar, and it starts with the recent records breadcrumb trail. So whether I want to review a recently accessed bill or invoice or sales order, I can do it from here. The next would be the bookmarks list, which is also configurable by the end user, so I can change this myself even after administrators have given me access. See, the income statement and balance sheet are similar to these dashboard tile shortcuts I see here. And I'm on the home dashboard right now. Within this, I also can set my own preferences, which is the ability to change things like how lists look, or how reports look, or how a dashboard might look, for instance. And beside that, I see a list of centers. Now, centers are also configurable. And what they do is they list out categories of different links into the system, maybe writing checks, deposits, etc. A good example of how a center is used is actually not only by listing these categories and links, but also when we click on this center, it'll show us these links in a dashboard view. For instance, the report center, it's going to show me those same categories, but listed in a portlet here, categorizing each of the saved reports, searches, and just other categorized reports that we might have in the instance. And this is a good example of all the standard reports that NetSuite comes with, as we have over 100 standard reports at both the summary and detail level for financials. So we always start from these standard reports before we try to customize the instance, because it always gets us there more quickly. Back to the home dashboard, we can now review the other portlets we have here, and we notice that we have reminders in the top left. We have some dashboard tiles for easy access links to reports. And we also will have these trend graphs that we can configure ourselves, income by period on the left, monthly payables on the right. And these are toggleable by the user themselves. We can change to a weekly view if we wanted to, change to a bar graph if we wanted to. It's really up to the end user at that point. In the center, we can see some key performance indicators. Again, these aren't hard set, but they are pre-configured with Suite Success, so we can give them that value on day one. And we even have navigation portlets to get to different quick access links depending on the role we're using. Right now, we're seeing the CFO quick access links, but we could look at this from maybe an executive management role as well. And this is just showing us different reports or different links in the system that might be relevant. As we go down, we can see a portlet that's fueled by a saved search that's giving me cash projections, whether it's AR due versus AR cash received, AP owed versus AP cash paid, and then finally the net due owed and the net cash received. Below that, we can even see a saved search again for year-to-date sales and vendor balances, account reconciliation. This is all configurable by the end user as well. Let's say, for instance, that I wanted to change the order of these portlets. I could change that. I could hide a few of them if I wanted to. But what if I wanted to add a new portlet? For instance, I have my customers here in a list, but I want to visualize that. Well, I can come to the top, click Personalize, and I have options here, whether it's standard content. You can see we have calendars, lists, KPI scorecards, and more. Report snapshots, if I wanted to simply see a snapshot of a report, or trend graphs. Now, if I wanted to add that the customers year to date, I'm going to be looking at report snapshots. And I'll just drag this into my dashboard here, close this out. And we can see it's already decided for me to start at the comparative sales report, but I can change this. I can set this up myself. Now, we have a lot of different snapshots to choose from, but I'll just show you how to quickly get into the customers by sales report. You can see that I can choose the type of chart, the date range, and down here I'm going to actually look at more than the top 5. Let's look at the top 15, for instance. And I'll save this. And in real time, I can see my top customers by sales in thousands. Now, these types of reports we can actually zoom into to see a little more detail. We can see here I can go right into the finer detail, and I can zoom back out. I can also change how I'm looking at this information. For instance, if I want to see it in a pie chart format instead, and now I can actually see top 15 customers and the percentages they represent in terms of revenue. And this is for the current period right now. I could change this and see maybe this rolling half. And we should see slightly different numbers as well. Let's change back to the current period. And we'll also show the ability to toggle on and off customers. So let's say I took away my highest percentage customer here with 27%. I can just toggle down here, remove it, and now I'll notice that without that, the second place customer now takes out 33%. So just some of those ease of use functionalities in any of these reports and dashboard trend graphs. Now, we can look at other centers that are pre-configured with financial metrics or other dashboard links for us. For instance, the financial center might be somewhere that we want to put other financial metrics, maybe it's some KPIs, and we have some of the similar metrics as well, like the weekly cash projection here. And when we look at the financials metrics in the middle, this is pre-configured to look at this period, last period, some fiscal quarters to period, and the last fiscal quarter to period. But when I come down to some of these metrics, we'll see that they can be visualized. For instance, the gross profit percentage. Again, we have one of those trend graphs that we can swap how we're looking at it, whether by period or quarterly. And when we come out of this, we can actually click on one of these metrics, and we'll notice exactly the numbers that make up this calculation. Now, of course, some of these are only showing us the metric calculation, but others will jump straight into our reports. For instance, if I click on revenue, I'll be brought straight into my income statement for the current period, as that's what I was just clicking on within the portlet itself. And now we have our first look at a NetSuite financial statement, in this case, an income statement. And we'll notice that we have our financial sections of the report based on financial rows. At the bottom here, we're going to notice our filters. You can filter by date and by subsidiary. In this case, we're looking at the top level subsidiary, but we could filter down if we had a multi-subsidiary instance. And then finally, we have our column here, which is really how we're slicing and dicing our data. Now I have the option to actually look at my financial statement by a myriad of segments. Here I have my class or my business lines, my departments, my locations, my subsidiaries, and then we have a couple options for different accounting periods or quarters. Before I get to that though, let's just look at some of these options at the bottom. I can actually collapse my report entirely and then step out by section as I've grouped it. I can also create my own Excel graphs. I can export this report into Excel, PDF, CSV, or Word. I can print it, email it, or I can schedule an email. Now, let's say that I wanted to look at this financial report and look at it not just by total, but actually by location. I can do that. I'll refresh this, and now I'll actually see my financial report thrown out by location. I have two US locations here. This is just one example of slicing and dicing the data. I also could be looking at this by accounting period. And let's look at more than one period here. Let's move back from February maybe to the previous Q3. And now we're going to see, of course, that quick slicing and dicing capability in NetSuite for financial reporting, but also other reports. And we can see how it's breaking out everything pretty easily for us. And if we wanted to jump into the detail, you can see that NetSuite's even suggesting for me to look at the detail report here. Now I'll be looking just at that single account for the date range that I chose, and I was looking at the total there, so it'll be all the results. And if I wanted to dive into one of these individually, I could simply go even deeper. I can go right down to the transaction record from the top. So now I'm going to go from that summary level to the detail level, and finally to the transaction itself. So if I wanted to do some sort of inquiry into the transaction itself. And from here, we can see the status of this invoice. We can see the date and relevant customer. We can even see where it was created from and the items itself, of course. From this point as well, we could look at related records, for instance, which is obviously the payment on the invoice. And we can look at the GL impact. So every record in NetSuite is always going to show us the non-posting or posting GL impact, and we have the ability to obviously put that in a sublist view here as well. Now let's head over to my controller role, where I'll see that the home dashboard is similar, but one big difference will definitely be the reminders that are set up. And let's keep in mind that as an end user, I can configure my own reminders. So if I wanted to see that same reminder for the invoices over 30 days, over $50,000, I can also do that. Let me see it added to the bottom here. I can change its appearance, make it look like a headline, and I can also remove it. Now, if we take a look at these sales orders to invoice, we'll see a bulk invoicing screen for all the sales orders currently at that stage, approved and ready for invoicing. And we'll see that I have a date at the top that would be applied to all invoices I would create, as well as an ability to add the invoice to a printing queue or to email them to the customer. In this case, we're respecting the customer preference, which is on customer record itself. And if I wanted to dive deeper into one of these invoices and create them individually, I could do that as well. Here we'll notice that there's a shipping cost included, which is actually taking advantage of the native shipping integration with UPS. And I can save. You can see that that invoice is no longer in my queue. Now, we do have centers dedicated to AR and AP. So let's have a look at the AR dashboard. With this dashboard, we can configure reminders specific to the center and, of course, key performance indicators as well. To dive right into the AR aging report, I'm going to look at this current period for receivables. And here we can see the standard 30, 60, 90, and over 90 bands for AR aging. But I can configure this myself. I have options. I can change the aging to be based on transaction or due date. I can change the as of date, and I can set up regular or irregular bands. So for instance, if I wanted more precision in my AR aging, I could set up bands of 5 bands of 10 days and refresh. Now we can throw it out 2 more columns or 3 more columns wide. And I can actually now come down to a particular column, and I'm going to get a filtered detail report. For instance, here I will see just those invoices for Smith Supplies over 50 days overdue. And we can see that here with the invoices, due dates, dates, and ages. Now, let's move over to my warehouse operations role, where again, I can see a totally unique set of reminders based on the end user's preference. Now, in terms of getting a global view of where my inventory levels are at, I can use the inventory center, and I'm going to see my trend in daily inventory in millions. I also have 2 items here it's suggesting for me to order. I have one way to look at my inventory snapshot with my current inventory snapshot report down here. And it's going to show that 2 of these inventory items, as I have here, actually have preferred stock levels and reorder points. And NetSuite's suggesting to order a certain amount. So we have one iPad Pro up here, and we have a MacBook Pro down here. Now, at the reorder point, NetSuite's going to suggest to reorder until you get to the preferred stock level based on how many are already on hand and on order. So for instance, if I return to my inventory center and I click on the items to order, I'll now be brought to the bulk order items page, where we have 3 methods for reordering items. Now, we spoke about reorder point already, but time phase would be using demand planning in NetSuite, so using historical trends in sales in order to predict how much should be purchased. The reorder point items we already discussed, and we can see here for the 2 locations, we have a suggested order for the MacBook Pro at each location, as well as the iPad Pro at each location. Now, of course, blanket POs are if we have planned out purchase orders into the future with our vendors. We don't have any to talk about in this case. And if I wanted to create all of these POs in one step, I could either indicate the exact quantity. Let's say, for instance, I only wanted to purchase 5 more. And NetSuite will check off this location and be creating a purchase order for this location. Let's do the same thing for location 2. And I also want to make sure that I email the vendor with this PO so that they're notified that I actually placed the PO with them. And let's submit. And NetSuite's going to process these purchase orders. Now we have one PO already created right here. Let's take a look at that one and see that the email was actually already sent to the vendor. If I come beneath the communication subtab, underneath messages, you can see that there is an email sent out already with the purchase order included. And I can have a look at it as well. We have a simple format in this case. I'm not using one of the advanced PDF layouts that NetSuite also has. And my vendor's already received it. Now, if we return back to our inventory snapshot, we would see that there's even less suggested to order. For instance, we just ordered some of the MacBook Pro. Now we're down to 19 left to order. From this report, we also can touch down right into the item record. For example, I'm going to use one of these time phase demand planning items, the SunSpark T42 server. From here, I can actually do an item 360. Now let's go right into that subtab itself for the item 360, and we can see that we have a projected demand with a certain quantity, a base price, and a projected sales amount. We have the same for the supply. We even have sales and margin. So on hand, on sales order, on purchase order. And we also have a three-way match. Within the three-way match, we can actually see highlighted and identified lines based on if it's a quantity variance or a price variance. This is available not only beneath the item, but also on a global level. And of course, to round out the rest of the item 360, we do have historical item sales, we have purchase orders, and we have monthly item quantity sold and the open sales orders. So we really do get that 360-degree view for the item. Now, I hope you enjoyed this demonstration. There's always more to see in the system, and we'll have a Q&A at the end of today's session while providing contact info to reach out for more information. Now let's discuss how your NetSuite implementation will look with our team. Every project begins with a scoping and planning stage to ensure that we gather requirements specific to your business and plan the project appropriately across each business process with your process owners. This allows us to produce a detailed project plan so that you know how our teams will be able to work together and share the workload throughout the project in order to balance time, budget, and schedule appropriately. Based on your requirements, we conduct working sessions where we will have you test drive your NetSuite instance and provide feedback as we work together to import all relevant data and tailor each user's experience. After this, we move into the user acceptance testing and training to completely validate that each of your business processes are functional on NetSuite, and subsequently, we prepare for go live. Thereafter, NetSuite will grow with you as an organization, which means that as your business evolves, so can NetSuite. And as such, we can plan projects to uplift your instance even further in the future. Throughout all these stages, we have living documents that support the implementation and keep all teams informed. For instance, our project planning work breakdown structure, or WBS, will ensure that there are no surprises during the implementation in terms of how the work will be shared, who will be responsible for which tasks, and the timeline related to these. Our actions and risks log combined with our weekly status reports keep you up to date with the reality of the project and ensure to provide complete visibility on progress. We also have UAT and test plans to ensure that each process has been set up correctly. But most importantly, and often overlooked in ERP implementations, we have a data migration plan to provide both strategy and execution details as to how we will move you from your current systems onto NetSuite. All these internal tools allow us to reduce risk, maintain execution speed, and achieve successful project completions time and time again. Now, due to our 14 years of experience, our methodology and knowledge base are both highly matured. In fact, we're so confident in our ability to implement NetSuite that we guarantee you will run your business with NetSuite or we give you your money back. To get more information about this, please feel free to leave contact information in the chat or reach out to us via the email or phone number we'll be providing shortly. Moreover, we are able to combine a phased approach when necessary to reach your priorities and timelines while implementing our workshare methodology to give you control of the implementation effort that your team can take on. This is especially advantageous throughout an implementation as each user becomes more and more enabled in NetSuite. Our team has expertise across all industries that NetSuite serves, and we have specialized solutions for industries like distribution and companies that conduct even an engineering to order process, to name a few. And as mentioned before, we conduct weekly status reports and keep a thorough account of project activities so that you are always in the loop as the project reaches go live. As NetSuite is based on leading practices across many industries, we at Gurus take advantage of suite success solutions based on your industry. This allows us to decrease time to go live and budget spend while providing business intelligence on day one. Now, let's talk about why Gurus is the premier partner for your NetSuite implementation. The first thing you should consider when choosing a partner is their team and how they will support your project. We have the largest and most certified bench in North America with 148 NetSuite certifications today across our entire team. We also have certified professionals in project management, business analysis, and in other tools like middleware with our fully certified Boomi integrations team and our planning and budgeting practice. Since 2005, we have maintained the highest status possible with Oracle NetSuite of 5 stars based on customer reviews and successful projects, which is a testament to our experience and team. Our partner network complements our internal team with added value solutions for your NetSuite instance, such as a middleware like Dell Boomi, a tax engine like Avalara, or a WMS solution like RF Smart. So we are always able to provide a complete solution for our clients given these partnerships, no matter the industry. At Guru Solutions, we have delivered over 2,100 projects and have over 600 active clients. We scale up business with cloud solutions. And if you'd like to know more about how to navigate the current landscape in cloud technology, please reach out and we'll be able to provide a copy of a book that our CEO, Martin McNichol, wrote on future-proofing your business. Look out for the second and final part of this 2-part webinar series. We'll be discussing topics such as why a workshare methodology is essential to implementation success, how you can integrate your current systems with NetSuite, how to choose the right NetSuite partner, and how to plan for success before the implementation begins. Thank you for attending. We hope you enjoyed the webinar, and if you aren't already on the attendee list for part 2 and would like to be, please leave your contact information in the chat, call us, or email us. Also reach out if you'd like more information about any of the content presented today, including the demo, our methodology, our money-back guarantee, or to get a copy of our CEO's book on how to future-proof your business with technology. Now we'll be opening up the session for Q&A. Please don't hesitate to type your question in the chat or unmute yourself and ask your question out loud. Thank you.